Hi Greedy 3Ders, welcome to today's video. Now I've always considered getting a laser engraver, so when I was asked to review this longer 10 watt laser, well, I kind of jumped at the chance. I want to see how easy it will be to incorporate this into my 3D printing hobby and just how easy is it to use a laser engraver. Now I am an absolute novice beginner. For all intents and purposes, I have never seen a laser engraver in the flesh, so this is going to be brand new to me and maybe brand new to you. If you want to see how I get on, stay tuned. The first thing we're going to do is look at the longer official YouTube trailer for this engraver. This will give you quite a few bits and tips and hints and give you a general overview from Longer themselves before we get into the unboxing and playing with the laser engraver. So the box itself arrived in good order, no dents, dinks or damage to it, and the packaging was perfect. I can't fault the packaging. There was some foam where everything was popped into and everything had its place, and when I'd unpacked everything, this is what we got. Now it's nice to see some protection goggles there. There's some tools, all the bags are labelled, everything is beautiful. I could not have put this any better. This is perfect for the beginner like me to build in. Now, if you've built 3D printers in the past, or you've put together your Ender 3, for example, you'll have no real problems with this. It's a bit of a gantry system. There's some nuts and bolts, there's some bits and pieces going in for Allen key assembly, but everything is included. All the Allen keys that you need are included, all the nuts, all the bolts. The instruction manual is well labelled. The packages are well labelled for everything that's gone in there. It's a little bit fiddly getting the belts on, but you know, that's just, once I'd done the first one, the second one came really easy. So from a sort of how hard was it to build, it was not hard at all. It took me about an hour and a half to do it, and that's because, you know, sometimes I wasn't quite sure what I was doing, so I just needed to go over things a couple of times, but really that's just down to me. It was very easy to put together upon reflection, and it didn't take me long before I was wiring it in and I was plugging it in for its first turn on. The only downer for me, my engraver didn't come with a UK plug, but I just used a kettle lead. It's not really a game changer or a breaker of the deal here. Now, when I turned it on, and it did turn on, and I was pleased to know I'd put it all together properly, the first thing I wanted to do was check the X and the Y axis and make sure everything moved, and yes, everything moved just as it was supposed to. We'll just talk about the standard of the build quality. This is a sturdy machine. It feels well made. It has been engineered well. All the bits and pieces went together absolutely perfectly with no problems, and there is the laser, there is the heart of the machine, and that is just wonderful to see. A little bit scary for me being a beginner, but I'll soon get over that when I use it for the first time. So far so good, all gone together beautifully. So it's time to insert the micro SD card, as there's a couple of test prints on there that I want to play with, and there's a little aluminium block that allows you to set the laser height to its level. Now again, I've never used one of these before. This is an absolute novice doing his first laser engrave. First thing I did as well was framed it just to make sure that I wasn't going to burn into my worktop, and that's a great function just to make sure it's going exactly where you want it to go. And once I'd got it where I wanted it, I pressed that print button, that engrave button, and away we went. I've sped it up a little bit here, but there was a slight smell of burning, a little bit of an aroma of burning wood. It was not overpowering, but if you're going to use one of these, you're going to need it in a well ventilated area, or think about your ventilation. You know, if you're going to use it in a confined space, you're going to have to be a little bit careful and look into some kind of a system to get rid of the fumes. But after around about a couple of minutes, and that's all it took, I'd got my first ever engraved print. I was so pleased. And it's only a little owl, but look what it looks like. It came out beautifully, absolutely perfectly. I am now no longer a virgin in the engraving world. So you get a micro SD card and a USB adapter, and on that are some goodies. We'll start off by having a quick look at the software. There's a couple of engraving software options on there, but I want to see Lightburn all up and running, and you get a 30-day free trial of Lightburn. Looking forward to having a go with that. They also include some manuals, and for a beginner like me, a really useful reference code which tells you settings of what power and timings you need and what sort of material you could use those for. I think this is going to come in really handy. There is a user guide, a start guide, very similar to the fold out one that comes with it, and there's a much more advanced manual that tells you a lot more about the unit and about Lightburn, etc., and all the settings you're going to need to create your masterpieces. So without further ado, let's connect the laser engraver up to my computer. And it was really simple to do. It's just a single lead that comes with the unit that you connect to your USB port. You set up Lightburn and your GBRL program, and I've got to be honest, I followed the instructions in the manual and it worked flawlessly. It was easy peasy to install, absolutely no problems at all. So once I'd installed the program, I wanted to do just a really quick test print. So I set the level of the laser using the aluminium block. I did a really simple test, literally that's all it said, test, and I pressed engrave. The longer burst into life to my whim and made my little wooden test piece. Absolutely just as I expected it to do. I was absolutely in awe at how easy it was to use. I'm still a little bit surprised to say that after just pressing the button and saying engrave, it did it, and it did it really well. Now I've done it over the old owl print, so that's why I've done that, but I wanted to do something a little bit more intricate, so I used the Greedy 3D logo. I literally just imported the image of it. I changed the power to 60% and the speed to 200, and then pressed engrave, and here we go again. The machine is doing its thing. Now, you know, when you're using this thing, like I said to you before, make sure it's in a well ventilated space. There was a smell of burning and a smell of smoke in the room, but the door was open. Consider some ventilation if you're going to use this. But it did the job absolutely wonderfully, and it printed my logo. And at the end of it all, which took around about 2.5–3 minutes to print, there it was, done and dusted. And wow, if this is the quality and standard and ease of use, I want to play some more with this. I think me and the Longer 5 are going to have some great fun experimenting in the future. I had a quick visit to Amazon and I bought myself a couple of different kinds of wood to try, and of course I made the obligatory cup holders there with Star Wars and the Greedy 3D logo. These were easy to do, absolutely easy, no problem, and they've come out wonderful. I'm really pleased with how easy and simple this operation was. But next we're going to see if we can actually carve our way through some wood. And a few minutes later, using some 2mm MDF, I just set the laser temperature to 100%. I slowed it down to around about 100 millimeters per second, and it went through this like butter. Just a couple of passes and it was straight through. So let's put the two processes together. Let's make an etched picture and let's cut it out. I'm going to make myself a little Greedy 3D key fob. It took me minutes to set this up on the system. I pressed the engrave button and within a couple of minutes I had my Greedy 3D. Oh, look at that key fob. It is beautiful, simple, quick, easy. I am so pleased with how easy this laser engraver has been to use. So we've seen it in action, so what do I think? Well, for complete transparency, I haven't purchased this unit. This Longer Ray 5 was sent to me for review purposes, and that is what I'm going to do. It will be an honest review. My opinions will be genuine and honest based on my use of the machine. So Let me also say I'm a complete novice in laser engravers. As I said at the start of this video, I'd never used one before today, but now I have used one. Here's my thoughts as a complete beginner. Well, firstly, let's look at the cost. It's around about $350, around about £300 to buy, give or take. I'll put a link in the description where you can get the unit from. And compared to other laser engravers, I think it's a really good price. I've done a little bit of research, and bear in mind this is quite a big area to engrave, a 400 by 400 with a 10-watt laser. I think it's a really good price. The price point is excellent. Let's look at how it arrived. When I unpacked it, everything was labelled beautifully. It was packed perfectly. The bags had all got little numbers on which correlated to the pages in the book to assemble it. And assembly took me about an hour and a half, give or take. Most people with any kind of experience of putting together flat pack furniture, or if you're a 3D printer, an Ender 3 for example, will fly through it absolutely no problem. And it went together wonderfully. Plugging it in with the electronics was easy. There's only one way it could really go, and that you can't get it wrong. You really can't. It comes with a micro SD card with a USB adapter, and on that you will find the software you need. There is Lightburn, which is a fantastic piece of software. There is GBRL, which is a free piece of software. Lightburn is free to use for 30 days, and there's a license. I think, don't quote me, it's about £30 for a lifetime license. It also comes with all the manuals, the user guides, and a handy little reference card on there as well that gives you an idea of how to set up your laser for certain kinds of materials. So when I did my first print, I just popped it on there, pressed print or pressed engrave, held my breath, and it did it. It was marvellous. It did the job as I wanted it to do. So, you know, I can print the usual things that I think everybody prints with these, coasters and little key fobs, but I want to do something a bit more than that, and that'll come in my next video. I'm going to try a bit of a project on it. Connecting it to my computer was really easy. I couldn't connect it to my Wi-Fi, but I think that's because the machine is in my man cave, which is in the garden, and the Wi-Fi is in the house. It was a bit of an intermittent signal, which I don't think that's the machine's fault. I've had other problems with things connecting out here. But when I connected it to my computer, it connected straight away through the included USB lead that comes with it absolutely perfectly. And you can sit there with your laptop and control the whole device beautifully, and everything worked perfectly. Again, if you've used Cura in the past, if you've used Chitubox, Lightburn is a doddle. You'll just fall into it straight away. Really easy to use. From a 3D printing perspective, I've often considered getting a laser engraver to make things like paint holders, brush holders. I recently bought a great big mobile paint case, and when it arrived, it was actually laser engraved. Somebody had made it, and they did a great job of it, don't get me wrong, but I could have done that myself with a little bit of practice and a little bit of, you know, making a couple of mistakes, I'm sure, but I could have done one myself. So, you know, if that's something you want to consider doing on it, you can make things, and the internet has a plethora of files for you to download to make things of your liking, not just to etch the obligatory coasters and key fobs. From a negative perspective, I can't really see any major negatives in it. Okay, we've spoke a little bit during the initial video about the fumes. You can smell burning. It is a laser engraver. You're going to smell burning wood. You're going to smell burning materials when you engrave or you cut them. Make sure you use well ventilated spaces. Make sure you consider things like extractor fans to use it. If you're going to use it in your house, you really need something like that, or even an enclosure, because it is going to smell. I did notice the smell of burning wood was quite pungent, but for me, luckily outside in the man cave, I left the door open and the fumes just dissipated, and that was done. But if you're doing it in a closed space, you really must consider looking at ventilation. That's really important. It comes with eye protection, which again is good. Make sure you wear eye protection. You don't want to be looking at lasers for risk of eye damage, but they've thought of that, and they've thrown in a free pair of eye protection glasses, which I think is fabulous. I can't really think of any other negative points to it, and that's not me being coy. That's not me saying because they've sent it me I can't say it, because I would say it. I'm going to do a using video next on it, perhaps in a few weeks' time, and maybe something will come to light, but as yet, it's absolutely perfect. It does what it says it's going to do on the box, and it does it really well. So from my perspective, as I say, as a complete novice, do I recommend this laser engraver? I do. I can't really emphasize how much I've enjoyed playing with this piece of kit. It's been easy, it's been reliable, it's been consistent, it's well made, it's been put together remarkably well. The standard of the materials are beautiful, and it has done everything that I have asked it to do. Now, as I say, if you want to get hold of one of these, there's a link in the description down below. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen today. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it useful if you're considering going into the laser engraving market. If you do like what you see today, then subscribe to the channel. If you want to join the Greedy 3D Patreon, you can join for free or from as little as £1 if you want to join the paid tiers. And by doing that, you're supporting me to continue to do my hobby and produce my videos for you. If you want to buy anything such as paints, 3D printers, they're longer, Ray 5, you'll find a link in the description down below, and that also supports me as a little bit will kick back to the channel and just allow me to continue to do what I love to do for you guys. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. We're going to be making something with this next time. We're going to be doing some 3D printing and painting. We'll try and mix the two in. See you next time on Greedy 3D.